Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And we have a bit of a doozy of a video today. That Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition definitely seems to be heating up now. There is some drama in play here today as Microsoft has hit a bit of a bump, prompting Phil Spencer to make a public response guided towards not only regulators, but seemingly PlayStation as well, interestingly enough. It does appear that Sony is creating some problems behind the scenes with some of these regulators, as we saw previously with Brazil. However, this time instead over in the UK. So make sure to stay tuned for all of that, because there's a lot to go over here, including some Xbox Game Pass stuff. Now also, PlayStation Plus seems to have a problem as fans are starting to criticize its monthly offerings. So we're going to talk about that as well a little bit later on in the video. Per usual though, if you do enjoy the video and if you do like gaming news, hit those buttons below. Subscribe, like, and hit that bell notification. That way you can keep up to date with all of the latest gaming news, including Activision Blizzard, which, they should receive various updates throughout the rest of the year. And as always, I will let you all know about them as soon as we hear more. To get things started off today, though, we need to talk about Halo Infinite and 343 Industries. I have to say, they are one of the most fascinating studios to me. On one side, they have a lot of talent and enough leadership to quite literally create a game in Halo Infinite that was voted as the best game of 2021 by fans at the Game Awards. Now, that's no easy feat to do, and it does go to show you the quality of this game. But all at the same time, if you listen to some of the things that fans have said over the last 6 or 7 months, you would think that Halo Infinite is just a terrible game. That's because it's just been hit by a crazy amount of criticism throughout 2022. And that all just boils down to one simple thing. Content. The quality of Halo Infinite is certainly there. That's not in question. Its single player is very good with a rich story, and if you play that alone, you're going to be very satisfied. And then as for its competitive multiplayer, it feels very good. But it does, without a doubt, need more content. This is a free-to-play live service game, after all, that actually launched with a very little amount of content. Well, that's the thing, because 343 today did unveil what's to come next with a roadmap, which I'll include on screen here. Now, there is some good news here, and then there's also some bad. We'll start off with the good. On November 8th, Forge Beta, Campaign Network Co-op, Mission Replay, a 30-tier Battle Pass, and new maps will release. That's actually a pretty beefy update that will deliver on two of the most requested inclusions, being online co-op and Forge mode, which does look incredible so far. I honestly do believe that Forge mode will solve a lot of Halo Infinite's problems, as fans will create a lot of content for 343, especially considering just how good its Forge mode looks. We've already seen a lot of videos on Forge, and there's no longer that discrepancy between developer and user creations, because it really is that good. Unfortunately, though, as 343 tends to do, they balance out their good updates with some bad. And that's what they did today, as they did announce that Season 3 has officially been delayed to March 7th of 2023. There are already complaints that these seasons are overstaying their welcome, so to see Season 3 get pushed back even further is not a good look. You do expect more frequent updates. Now, I think this might improve after Season 3 with the inclusion of Forge mode, but for the short term, Halo Infinite has not delivered in terms of content for a live service game, and for that reason, I do understand fans' frustration. To top things off, though, they did also announce they've made the tough decision to cancel couch co-op. Now, keep in mind, you can still play co-op online, that is still a thing, but for those that wanted to play split screen in person with friends or family, will no longer get that chance. Now, couch co-op has become a little bit more rare when it comes to modern games, but still, just considering the history of Halo and how fans just have so many memories when it comes to couch co-op in that original trilogy, it is a little unfortunate to see 343 just couldn't make it happen with Halo Infinite. Let me know what you all think about this, though. Do you think this is a big deal or not? Let me know in the comments below. Now, we do also have a pretty exciting announcement for you Assassin's Creed fans out there, as Ubisoft confirmed the next Assassin's Creed game titled Mirage. Artwork actually leaked out this morning, which, I mean, leaks seem to always happen before a Ubisoft event, but Ubisoft did respond with an official statement shortly thereafter, confirming that it is indeed for Assassin's Creed Mirage, and they look to fully reveal it at Ubisoft Forward on September 10th. So, there you go. It is 100% official now. But this being Ubisoft, of course, there's always a little bit more to the story. They do have a very, very leaky problem over there, but reportedly, we already have details on what this game is. Now, if you do want to be surprised whenever they reveal this game on September 10th, I do recommend just skipping to our next topic. But according to Jason Schreier and a YouTuber by the name of Jonathan, Assassin's Creed Mirage was originally planned as an expansion for Valhalla starring Basim in a more stealth-based game, but eventually turned into its own thing. Now, it's currently being said that Mirage will take the franchise back to its basics, being heavily inspired by the first game of the series, and it'll do away with some of the RPG focus and dialogue options that we've seen in some of the recent titles. It does very much sound like this will be a smaller scope game, but for those that's been clamoring for Assassin's Creed to return to its roots, I've definitely seen you all out there, it sounds like that's exactly what's happening here. It's also supposedly looking to release in spring of 2023, according to these leaks. But, I mean, I guess we won't have to wait too long to hear more official news, as again, they're planning to reveal it on September 10th at Ubisoft Forward. Alright, so let's just go and talk about that Activision Blizzard acquisition again, though, as Microsoft has now run into their first big bump today. This is because the UK regulators have expressed competition concerns and have proposed a more in-depth investigation. They were originally supposed to give their conclusion on September 1st, which that's actually today, but instead, they want to move on to Phase 2 to alleviate any type of concerns they might have. Now, to be very clear on the matter, this is not really negative news or positive news for that matter. You have to keep in mind that this is nearly a $70 billion acquisition, and it's always been expected that Microsoft will face a high amount of scrutiny. That's really what you're seeing here. These regulators will do their due diligence, as they absolutely should with any type of acquisition of this size. Though interestingly enough, the problem that has arisen here kind of echoes what we're seeing over in Brazil. It does appear that Sony is the ones creating concern behind the scenes once again. In CMA's own statement, they did say this: "The CMA is concerned that having full control over this powerful catalog, especially in light of Microsoft's already strong position in gaming consoles, operating systems, and cloud infrastructure, could result in Microsoft harming consumers by impairing Sony's, Microsoft's closest gaming rival, ability to compete, as well as other existing rivals and potential new entrants." So they do actually directly mention Sony, which I thought was very interesting, and they also specifically mention concern over Call of Duty exclusivity, as you can see here. They say the CMA gathered substantial evidence from Microsoft, ABK, and third parties to assess the significance of ABK's gaming portfolio. This evidence consistently pointed towards ABK's content, especially Call of Duty, as being important and capable of making a material difference to the success of rivals' gaming platforms. ABK invests significant time and capital in creating regular Call of Duty releases, which consistently rank as some of the most popular games. These titles require thousands of game developers and several years to complete, and there are very few other games of similar caliber or popularity. The CMA believes the merger could allow Microsoft to make ABK content, including Call of Duty, exclusive to Xbox or Game Pass, or otherwise degrade its rivals' access to ABK content, such as by delaying releases or imposing licensing price increases. This type of concern is known as an input foreclosure, where a firm uses its control of an important input to harm its rivals. Now, for the most part, all of this sounds very familiar, though it does bring up one interesting new point. I'll kind of get back to that in a moment. But if you've been following these acquisition updates, you will remember that Sony has been complaining to Brazil regulators that Call of Duty is unrivaled, and by Xbox owning it, it will quote-unquote influence console of choice. Sony has now brought this up to what looks to be two different regulators, it appears, including the CMA. And I'm sure that they're doing much the same with other regulators as well. I really wouldn't be overly surprised at all if we start to hear similar things come from other regulators like the FTC in the future. And then after that, it's just kind of up to Microsoft to prove why it shouldn't be viewed as anti-competitive. In fact, Microsoft's president Brad Smith and ex-boss Phil Spencer himself already responded to this particular issue. Microsoft president Brad Smith directly responded to the CMA by saying this: "We're ready to work with CMA on next steps and address any of its concerns. Sony, as the industry leader, says it is worried about Call of Duty, but we've said we are committed to making the same game available on the same day on both Xbox and PlayStation. We want people to have more access to games, not less." Now, that seems to be a very important thing that's being brought up here, the idea of timed exclusivity. It does appear that that's something that Sony might be concerned with, and that's something that they brought up with the CMA, and that's why we are seeing Brad Smith specifically point out they are not looking to make Call of Duty a timed exclusive for Xbox. So that's just kind of confirming one more thing. And then actually you also have Phil Spencer, which echoed this sentiment in a public response directed to both consumers as well as regulators alike. Phil Spencer said, "We've heard this deal might take franchises like Call of Duty away from the places where people currently play them. That's why, as we've said before, we are committed to making the same version of Call of Duty available on PlayStation on the same day the game launches elsewhere." So they are making it 100% clear that Call of Duty will indeed remain multi-platform now and for the future, and not only that, but it will release on PlayStation and Xbox the very same day. They even compared it to Minecraft, which has grown significantly on multiple platforms since they acquired it back in 2014. So I think with this kind of being the big concern here, I think what's going to happen next is that Microsoft will just have to assure regulators that they're not being coy with their words and that they are fully committed to keeping Call of Duty multi-platform. They are fully committed to releasing these games on PlayStation the same day they release them on Xbox. It's a concession, more or less, which, I mean, honestly, I think that we already kind of knew that in the first place. I mean, I have seen some fans kind of believe that maybe Microsoft's not being 100% transparent, but this is now the third time that Microsoft has said Call of Duty will be multi-platform, and they even took that extra step today, just saying it's going to release on PlayStation the same day. Now, one other thing that they did confirm here, though, is that they do plan to release Call of Duty, Diablo, and Overwatch in the Xbox Game Pass, which, as I've said before, that does seem to be the key to this acquisition. It's not about exclusivity per se, but instead it's about growing Xbox Game Pass, which that has actually led to another PlayStation argument. As we saw with the Brazilian regulators, Sony has made a case that Xbox Game Pass is dominant in terms of subscriptions. Microsoft, though, responded by pointing out that PlayStation has their own subscriptions, which have been very successful, and they've even recently launched a direct competitor to Xbox Game Pass, being, of course, PlayStation Plus Extra and then PlayStation Plus Premium. So we already know how Microsoft is going to kind of respond to this stuff, and there's actually a lot of things that bodes very, very well for Microsoft. As we saw with the Brazil regulators, Microsoft, they will point out that Sony locks down third-party exclusives like Final Fantasy as an example. Sony also has been going on an acquisition spree, which I think that bodes very, very well for Microsoft. In fact, Sony's, they've acquired several studios this year, and they even have more ammo this time around. I do imagine that they will bring up the fact that Sony just increased the price of the PlayStation 5 despite being the market leader. I think that's a terrible look for Sony, and it plays in favor of Microsoft acquiring Activision Blizzard. All in all, though, I think everything that's currently happening is absolutely to be expected. It's not really ideal for Microsoft, and it might slow down the process to a degree, but they did say that they expect it to complete by June of 2023. I think if this news tells us anything, just kind of expect this process to be long. I, however, don't view this news as anything negative. Yes, Microsoft will have to talk with these regulators, but that was always to be expected. It was always expected to be a long process, and it was always expected to face scrutiny, and that's really what you're seeing here. I do, however, believe that Microsoft will complete this acquisition. It might be with some concessions, and it might take a while, but I do believe they will complete it. Moving on, though, Sony just revealed the September PlayStation Plus lineup, which has kind of led to some ongoing concern of what this service has to offer on a monthly basis. See, I think one thing that's happening here is that Sony kind of got off to a strong start by releasing Stray into PlayStation Plus Extra. But so far, it kind of seems like that's a bit of an outlier, especially as you start to look into PlayStation Plus Premium, which is their most expensive tier. We'll kind of get into that here in just a second, but first, let's go take a look at what they have to offer. For Essential members, you'll get Need for Speed Heat, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, and Toem: A Photo Adventure. Overall, I'd say that's a pretty decent lineup of games. I think there's definitely some fun to be had here with games like Need for Speed if you're interested in racing games. As for PlayStation Plus Extra, this is that Game Pass competitor, if you will, and they do have a really strong lineup of quality games here. You can see they have Deathloop, which is very interesting considering Xbox technically owns that game now, but it is coming over to PlayStation Plus Extra on September 20th. Then you have Assassin's Creed Origins, Watch Dogs 2, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, Spiritfarer Farewell Edition, Chicory: A Colorful Tale, Monster Energy Supercross, Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX, Rabbids Invasion, Rayman Legends, and then Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. So in terms of quality with big games alone, I'd say this is actually a very good lineup, especially with the inclusion of Deathloop. That released just last year, and it was actually one of the highest rated games in 2021. If you haven't played it already, definitely do so. But all at the same time, this does kind of pose a problem with PlayStation Plus. See, the issue here is that once again, there's no day one releases. See, I think after Stray came to this service day one, there was that hope that we would see Sony invest into more titles like that, similar to what we see with Game Pass. But outside of that singular month, they've really only released older games so far. Now again, there's definitely some high quality releases here, there's no doubt about that, but for a lot of people out there, they do purchase games that they're interested in when they first release. So without those consistent day one releases, each month just kind of becomes this big question mark. You know, when it comes to any type of subscription service, that's one of the things that you want to keep you subscribed. Something to consistently look forward to. And so far with PlayStation Plus Extra, it's kind of been a little bit inconsistent, depending on if you tend to buy games that you're interested in when they first release. Now, there's still definitely an audience out there that would be interested in a service like this, but you just have to kind of know what to expect, and so far, it does seem like these day one releases aren't necessarily going to be the focal point. One other issue that seems to consistently be brought up, though, is with PlayStation Plus Premium and their Classic offering. This is the most expensive tier after all, so you are expecting quite a bit. And for the month of September, they're including Siphon Filter 2 being the lone PlayStation 1 title. Then you have the Sly Cooper Collection, Sly Cooper Thieves in Time, and Bentley's Hack Pack for the PlayStation 3. Then you have Toy Story 3 and Kingdom of Paradise for the PlayStation Portable. Now, fans do not seem happy about this lineup in the slightest. Now, on one side, you do have Siphon Filter 2, which is a good, solid PlayStation 1 game. But the problem is it's the only PlayStation 1 game. I mean, fans are paying $120 for this service, so there is that hope that they'll release more PlayStation 1 games than just that. But even then, I mean, it still got more love than the PlayStation 2 got. For that matter, that's probably the strangest part of this entire lineup. Sony, for whatever reason, decided to release the PlayStation 3 versions of Sly Cooper, which means that they will run through game streaming, something that fans are not exactly in love with. That seems like just such a missed opportunity, though, as they could have just done the PlayStation 2 versions of these games instead, which would have been playable natively. So that didn't necessarily sit well with fans, nor did their PlayStation Portable offering. I mean, this service is only like 3 months old, and they're already releasing games that you wouldn't expect to see just right out of the gate. There's obviously a lot of beloved games on the PSP, so you would kind of think that they'd want to release those first to kind of gain traction for PlayStation Plus Premium. You know, again, it's a $120 service, but instead, as you're seeing here, they're kind of just releasing random games right out of the gate. So yeah, fans don't seem to be thrilled with this lineup of games. And I mean, I've said it before, I thought they should have just taken a similar direction as Nintendo and put them in a cheaper tier. But I mean, it is what it is, I guess. Hopefully they improve going forward, but at the very least, PlayStation Plus Extra is getting high quality games. Maybe not day one releases, but still, there's some good games to be had here, and that will be worth it for some fans out there, depending on what they expect from a service like this. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, where I asked you all if the rumor is true. Would you be interested in buying a Zelda Wind Waker and Twilight Princess combo pack for the Nintendo Switch? And well, the majority of you all actually did vote for yes. 54% of you said yes, while 28% said no, not interested, and 11% said no, you refuse to purchase them once again. So there you have it. It does look like there would be a lot of interest for a combo pack like this. Now, I think for me, one concern that I do have is if maybe the rumors aren't necessarily true that we're going to get a combo pack. I worry that Nintendo will release these games individually, where they'll release Wind Waker this year and then they'll release Twilight Princess next year. I hope they don't do something like that, but this is Nintendo that we're talking about, and I could see them doing something like that. I guess we'll see, though. I mean, there is that rumor going around that we are going to get a Zelda-focused Nintendo Direct sometime in the month of September. It looks like it's going to happen around September 12th, and a lot of our answers will be answered then if those rumors turn out to be true. I very much hope they are. I do hope that this will be a combo pack, and I am very much with you, Wool. I absolutely will purchase a combo pack of Zelda Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Even though I actually do already own these games on the Wii U, I will buy them once again because I do want them on a portable console. That's where the Nintendo Switch has been such a brilliant device for me. I play all of my games on handheld, and I would love to play a game like Twilight Princess or Wind Waker on a handheld. So yes, port as many of these games as you can over to the Nintendo Switch. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.